I was gonna say it's on brand.
So, hello everyone. This is our
Digiorno.
No, this is why this is going to be a lot. This
is
Digiorno. Okay, shut up. You all make me upset. Okay, this is our
first episode.
You don't need to fucking scream. God, like I wasn't gonna swear during this, but you all need to chill the f out. Like seriously.
I am done.
No, literally, I needed to say welcome. This is So Demons or something like, or we can all look at each other and go. So demons? Oh, Evelina just wasn't part of that, but whatever. So hello everyone. This is our new podcast, So Demons, where we talk about murder, spooky, anything spooky, anything we want to fucking talk about. Like really, like we don't care.
Theories and stuff like that.
So, to try to, like, crunch on time, we're not going to say too much. It's like, this is our first episode. This is our first time trying it. Thank you so much to my video editing teacher for letting us have this $90 microphone to record this with.
Mr. Fields.
Shout out to Mr. Fields!
Oh, yeah!
Okay, but,
we should do introductions.
So, I'm Danny, and I will be the main editor, planner, and everything for this podcast.
That is such bullshit. Yeah.
I designed the logo, so clearly I did the most effort.
I made the Google Classroom.
I made the blog.
I made everything else.
Okay, yeah. So I'm Danny, and, like, that's basically all you really need to know about me. Evelina, go.
I'm Evelina. Or Eve.
Or I will be calling her Evelyn.
And then Katie.
And I'm Catherine.
Katie, same thing. Cat ho.
You ho.
Cat ho.
Okay, Haley.
Hi.
A.k.a. the ho.
These hoes and
Okay, Haley.
Okay,
Queen.
Hi. What?
Queen BB.
Hey.
Haley.
Hi, I'm Haley, and I'm cool.
Her mini dabs give me fucking cancer.
Wait, what if we send this to Mr. Fields and he watches that?
He's not gonna. Okay. So we have... Just to let me, like, say this in the beginning, we all picked out topics previously, and we know what we're talking about, but we don't know each other's, like, we don't know everything about each other's stories. So, we're gonna start it off with Evelina, who has the shortest story. I'm gonna move the mic just a tad bit closer to you.
All right.
To make it
be more, like, sensual.
So, Saudi Arabia Witch is the one I'm doing, and from what I got,
spooky.
The video originally was taken somewhere between Saudi Arabia and Qatar by two Saudi Arabian policemen.
Saudi Arabia.
They were driving down the dirt road. There's no description of why they were.
Also, we'll link the video.
Yeah.
Because the video is, like, super creepy.
Yeah. I also watched a debunked one to try to get from that one.
Yeah, because you should also bring up some of those points.
Yeah. As they were driving, though, they saw the woman. And so, from the debunked video, he had a translator where the people were saying, go back, don't stop the car, go back. Like, they sounded pretty frightened by a random woman just showing up and going after their car. And the woman was carrying a wooden staff while she was walking around just walking around in general. And after a bit, the two men tried to go past her, but she went running after them.
Yeah, that part was, like, super creepy, because she's running after them going, ah! Like, I don't speak the language, I'm not being racist, but she literally is just kind of screaming at them.
But she wasn't screaming, though. She was laughing at them.
Oh, she was laughing?
While they were terrified.
I'm legit getting chills.
Like, when they were saying go back in their language, she was laughing at them, and that's when they were backing up while she was screaming.
Okay, I'm scared because, like, my demon corner's behind me. Talk about that in another episode.
Yeah.
Ow, I just hit myself in the nose. Alright, let Evelina continue.
Wait, I'm trying to, yeah, the video was uploaded November 28th, 2014, but, like, my question is, did the policeman actually make it out, or did someone find it, like, while they were walking?
I think they uploaded it, or maybe, like, they gave it to a friend, like, yeah, this is...
Or maybe someone found it in the dead bodies.
Well, maybe they, like, got out, and they gave it to a friend to show it to him, like, yeah, this is super creepy, and their friend's like, yeah, let's upload this, you know, as friends normally do.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
And Saudi Arabia has religious police officers, quite literally, for, like, the witchcraft stuff, and the standard punishment for any sign of showing black magic or witchcraft is capital punishment.
That's, like,
That is...
That's like the death penalty, isn't it?
Wait, is
Yeah.
that actually
Oh,
the death
I'm
penalty?
pretty sure
Dude,
it's like
The
death.
capital punishment is like life in
Hey, like,
prison and
you
death
type-
penalty.
You need to be...
No, like,
I'm looking up capital punishment.
It's pretty
Also
severe.
known as the death penalty.
Yeah, it's
is
the
a
death
government-sanctioned practice
Yeah, that
whereby a
makes
person
sense.
is put to death.
That makes
Yeah.
sense, though, because, like, the death, like, because witches have been put to death, like, over the
Mhm.
years.
Salem witch trials.
And it's just their standard for
Same
it.
with-
Yeah,
So if
that's
they go
so
anything
creepy.
above, that's gonna be...
I'm so happy. Yeah, Katie just, like, spilt soda all over herself. Earlier while Evelina was... If you guys heard Evelina's, if you heard during Evelina's story, just a little bit of candy wrapper in the background.
That was Katie.
Katie was opening
And if you
candy.
heard her accent, it's just Evelina's sexy accent.
Okay, is that all you have?
Yeah. that's
So
all
do you
I
have any discussions you'd
you
like to
hold
have
that?
about this? This
Can
is
you
only like 5
Um,
minutes so far, so we're making good time. Your story was short as shit.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't realize
I
how
couldn't
short it
find
was.
much about it. Like, I
Well,
went
yeah,
to 3
because you did
different
choose an
things.
internet video.
Yeah. And I even
No,
watched
my
a
nose was
debunk.
on
I
that.
even watched a debunk video about it. So.
What were some of his points, though? Like, if you
oh
can...
God.
No, you don't have to bring up your notes, just, like, if you can remember off the top of your head, because I don't want to, like
Like
take
some
too
of his
long.
points could be that it was someone like another police officer dressed up.
Yeah, maybe it was, like, a
Like, a
prank.
prank.
But, like, that's really seems unlikely.
It's just a
'Cause, like,
prank, bro.
Like, considering, like, how religious, like, the police officers are in
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia, and considering Saudi Arabia in general, like, the whole stereotypes around it, it's very unlikely that someone would dress up as, like, a witch and chase them around. The biggest thing, though, is, like, her laugh, like, her scream, which I thought was a scream, which is now a laugh, is literally bone-chilling. Like, I watched it for the first time, like, shortly after it was, like, out, because there were a whole bunch of videos. I, like, got chills.
And if you watch the original video, apparently, I don't know, because he used Google Translate, I believe, so I don't know if it's the actual words, but there is a description of what was said.
Mm-hmm.
From when he used Google Classroom, it was like,
Classroom Translate?
or Google Class.
It's okay, we understand you.
It was like, prank, yada, 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 but
Yeah, it could
if they
just
were,
be,
like,
like...
if they sounded so terrified, why would they...
Well, the
Haley,
thing
you're
is,
eating so loudly. Sorry.
it's one of those things where you, like, never know. So, yeah. Any
Demons.
thoughts, comments? So,
Poopy.
demons.
Thoughts, comments, concerns? No.
I just don't want to go
You're
to Saudi
chewing too
Arabia.
loud. Yeah, I don't want
I
to
don't wanna
either,
go
just
anywhere.
in general.
Just gonna stay
But,
here.
So, if that's all we have for Evelina, would Catherine like to... Would you like... Okay, I was about to pass the mic to you, but then I was like, I've decided not to. So, would Catherine like me to pass the mic over a little closer? You literally just crumpled that right into the mic, you degenerate whore.
You illiterate fuck.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
So,
I know, like, the thing is, let me just say something first. I know, like, who Katie's talking about, but I don't know the story behind it, and I'm wicked excited.
like, you guys are willing to add in feedback on...
'Cause, like,
I
I
know.
No, what's your case, child?
I was still talking.
Yeah, yeah, let her talk about it. So,
Like-
come on, Katie, I'm excited.
Danny's actually bouncing in her
Because I'm
seat.
really excited, because I haven't heard anything about this, but, like,
Ow.
I've only heard that, like, the chick was a beauty queen, and that's all I know about it.
Okay, so I did, researched, looked up, theorized about John Benet Ramsey.
Oh, Jesus.
If any of you don't know who she is, like, how? Question mark. Because, like,
We're also gonna put pictures of her, because, I was listening to a podcast, and before they mentioned, like, she looks very adult, like,
Yeah.
wasn't she only 6? She looks very adult for 6 years
Yeah.
old, and, like, she just kind of has that knowing stare, like, something's been going on.
okay, so she was 6 years old when she died. She died on, like, she is theorized to have died late Christmas night,
That's so
or
sad.
early the day after in 1996, so she was born in 1990, so she was 6 years old.
That's so sad.
And her parents, Patsy and John Bennett Ramsey, where she gets her name because her name is, like, the French version of her dad's name. Like, she lived with them and shit, and she was a beauty queen and shit, and she did all that pageant circuitry stuff.
like,
Like,
Boo Boo.
yeah.
yeah, but, like, what's that show? Like, Toddlers and Tiaras.
Yeah.
Which is, like,
Yeah.
honestly, my personal opinion on, like, child beauty pageants, they're so creepy.
Pedophiles.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
the judges, like, they always, like, because it's so creepy, because they make these little girls look like adults, and it's scary.
Yeah. And her mother, Patsy, she also did that when she was a kid and shit, so that's why she did it.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Like, keep the family tradition.
Yeah. And so, her brother, Burke, was 9 when she died.
When he died?
Yeah.
Whoa, a little twist right there.
No, he's alive. So, like, Patsy Ramsey on the early morning hours of December 26th, 1996, she, like, called the police and shit, and she was like, oh, there's been a kidnapping, blah, 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 and then the operator was like, oh, what's wrong, and then she was like, oh, they have my daughter, and they left a ransom note and shit, and she was like, oh, like, shit, trying to think of, like, because I don't need my notes a lot, but,
if you need your notes, look at them. There's a reason we took notes.
I know. So
Look at your notes.
Called the police, and she was like, oh, there was a ransom note, and John Bonet was missing, like, in the morning, on December 26th.
That already sounds a little sus. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
No, and it's like, the thing
it already sounds pretty sus.
The thing is, in the ransom note, it's 2 fucking pages long. Yeah, that's how long the ransom note was.
Like tiny handwriting or messy handwriting?
Like, on, like, notepads.
Oh.
That people, like, giant notepads. And, so it was 2 pages long. Or, like, 2.5 pages or something. It wasn't 3, but it wasn't just 2. And they were like, oh, we have your daughter, blah, 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 blah. If you give us $1,118, like, 1180 $000.
$118,000.
Yeah.
So, like,
for your kid,
that's such a specific...
We'll give her back. And the thing is that was John Bennett Ramsey's exact holiday bonus too.
Oh my god,
that was his.
Like, I was about to say, like, that's really specific.
Yeah.
Like that'd be like kidnapping. Like that'd be like, I don't know. Say someone kidnapped your cat and then was like, I want specifically $93.62. If it's 1 cent low, you're not getting it back.
So, and like they like it was all a coincidence and stuff. So, like, they lived in Boulder, Colorado. So, and if you wanted to know, that's
kind of important to know where they're, like, killing.
Yeah. So, and after the police had arrived, the police had arrived and stuff, and then the dad and then another one of his friends, like, went to look around the house because they lived in a mansion and stuff because they were really rich.
Dude, I wish I lived in a mansion.
They were rich and stuff, and then the dad and his friends went down to the basement, and that's where they found her dead body and stuff. So, and
that sounds like
very
because like, wouldn't you go like looking everywhere around your house before you called the police saying, "Oh, there's been a kidnapping"?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's just like the normal thing. Like in other cases of kidnappings, like people will even wait like days if like the kid's like, "Oh yeah, the kid like likes to go outside and not come back for a little while." Like
yeah, but
they'll wait
she
days.
Was 6. And so, like, another piece of evidence is, so there was, like, this thing of pineapple and sugar or something like that on the table, or no, pineapple and milk on the table, and, it was John Bonet's favorite food, and Patsy was like, oh, I don't remember giving her that, blah, 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 but it was found in her stomach, so, like, that means she ate it an hour or 2 before she died.
So, and weren't Patsy's fingerprints on the bowl?
Patsy's and Burke's were, I think.
So, like, how, like, were they digested at all, or were they, like, actual still, like, pineapple chunks?
They were, like, not even digested.
Dude, that means, like,
yeah,
like, shortly after, like, they
like,
found,
not even an hour
like,
or 2.
Dude, that's so messed
Yeah,
up. Like,
and
she was fed pineapple, and, like, literally, like, as she was eating the pineapple, they just smack her right out.
Gotta keep them healthy.
So, like, the,
Evelina.
I just smashed a bottle.
So, like, the wounds to her it was blunt force trauma to the head, but that's not how she actually died. Like, she was choked out with a garrote, with stuff from Patsy's, like,
a garrote? Like a garrote wire?
Yeah, but, like, a homemade one.
Wait, what's a garrote wire?
A garrote wire,
like
it's like a garrote wire is like
it's
these two handles, and then like it's normally like a thin piece of wire, and like
they'll choke you out.
Because like the thing is it'll slit you open because wire is like really thick. So like they'll like,
but it was with like fabric or whatever.
I know,
so
but
it was used to choke her.
But if it was used with wire, like it would have left like tons of marks like inside her, like
and so it was used from Patsy's hobbies thing. It was her stuff. That was used to kill her.
I just picture though, like the mom just literally making a homemade garrote wire out of like fabric. Like, this is my hobby.
And so that happened, and there was also signs of sexual assault, like for a long time.
Oh, like
yeah, like long term. And yeah,
she's like 6 though, isn't she?
Yeah,
that's so messed. That poor little baby.
Do you want to know what I found? What I wrote exactly in my notes? JBR, John Bennett Ramsey, found his daughter without a police escort, which is pretty sus.
Which is pretty sus.
Like legit, I just wrote that plain in my notes, and then I was like, what else did I say?
That's so messed up though, that like, because there's two, like, honestly, my two personal theories on like the sexual assault thing. Like, it could have, because she's a beauty pageant like girl.
Yeah, but
like the thing is, judges like like it has, as it is with some things, like judges can be pretty, like maybe the mother like would give her daughter to the judges so they would let her like win pageants. Yeah, which is like, I wouldn't put it like past some people, because some people do stuff like that, and maybe it was like the father or like the mother to make more money on the side. The dad. Oh, well, maybe the mother on more money, like for more money on the side, she was like selling her daughter because her, like, I haven't seen a picture of her, but I've heard she looks like very adult. So like
for a 6-year-old.
Yeah, she could be like selling her like on the side, like her body to get money.
Yeah, and so like the like DNA that was found in John Benet's panties or whatever they were under her fingernails, like trying to like defensive
like
stuff.
That's what she looked like.
Oh my god, that is very adult for a kid.
I'm sorry, but she looks like 40, like a young.
Not really. She doesn't look like 40. She looks like
40-year-olds have that kind of hair.
She looks like she's in her like mid-20s, like because that's what they do with beauty pageant girls.
Yeah,
they'll like cover them in makeup and like full slashes.
So and the DNA under her fingernails and her panties didn't belong to anyone in the family, so that can be canceled out.
But the thing is, they could also like. Because maybe if it wasn't, like...
They could have placed the DNA
They could have placed DNA or something like that, but they could have, like...
Under her fingernails?
But the thing is, if the parents didn't directly do it, the parents could have also, like hired someone to do it.
Yeah, true.
That's something that could happen.
They could have known about it, and then they didn't
that's maybe, like, why they're bullshit on the pineapple. They were, like, feeding her pineapple because, like, maybe they knew, like, they hired someone to kill her or something, which would seem weird, though. Yeah. Because she's, like, wouldn't you think she'd be, like, a prized daughter? Because she's beauty pageants and and stuff?
But if they got sick of her because of her attitude... If they got sick of her, no, there are some stories about that.
I have more pages of notes.
Yeah, keep going.
So, and like now it's just bullets. So like her parents they didn't go into the police to have a formal interview for 4 months after their daughter died.
I would be going in next day.
And like on top of that, they went on TV to talk about it before they talked to the police. I'm just trying to connect my notes. So
maybe they killed her for fame whoring.
Didn't get enough attention beforehand because their daughter took all of it, so why not?
I'm trying to look because I've said a lot. So
just read the rest of your notes.
Well, she's trying to find what she hasn't said to us yet. What about the brother? Like, I haven't heard anything about the brother.
I have also theories on there, too. So, like, and I'll make my way back to talking about the brother.
Okay.
So, like, and I'm gonna talk about the ransom note now. It was, on top of it being sus with the same amount as John Bennett's, frickin' salary, it's, like, most of the handwriting matched up with the moms, like, how I watched a whole 2020 thing on this, okay?
Well, the thing is, like, sometimes handwriting can be off.
No, but, like, they matched, like, her A's and shit. She would do, like, this weird thing, and it matched exactly. But it wasn't enough stuff. Or the person who did it, the judge was like, oh, you don't have enough credentials to prove that she wrote it.
Well, that's because
even though the letters were, like, exactly the same.
Well, that's because also, like, that kind of stuff, like, just handwriting matching, it's easy to copy someone's handwriting. Everyone's here is probably forged their parents' signature, right?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Or even if they had a letter from them beforehand, like maybe if they got it from high school and she still has the same handwriting now, they could have put it up to a window and traced it that way, like the letters, and then matched up that way.
I'm trying not to be loud as I open this piece.
There's a ton of stuff like that, though. And you want to know what I heard that's kind of related to, like, this? I heard that, like, hair testing isn't valid anymore.
Yeah, because you can just take someone's hair.
Yeah, it's, like, not... But, like, the thing is, the DNA behind it's completely false.
Really?
Yeah, it's not valid at all. Like, I heard this on another podcast, so I'm not, like... I don't know entirely, but, like, they were talking about, how the DNA from, like, hair fibers can be just, like, completely non-valid, because someone can, like, plant a hair, and there's a whole bunch of stuff like that. and how it's not like a valid DNA court case anymore.
Yeah, and so I'm trying to find what I haven't said.
Something about the ransom note.
Oh, it was used on a piece of like stationery taken like from Patsy and John's office or whatever. So like, who is no?
It'd
who
probably
is,
have to be someone who knew the house.
Yeah, that's the thing, because there were no signs of forced entry, I don't think. So it's like, who is gonna spend the time to write a 2-page long ransom note about killing your kid?
Yeah, especially if they just killed her and like put her in the basement.
Yeah.
Like saying that they kidnapped her. Like, unless these parents are absolute shitheads and don't look at like throughout their whole house before calling the police, which is what happened. Then like, there's
Did
literally
they have, like, a butler?
Did they have a butler?
Or
Did they name him
a
James?
nanny?
I don't think so.
Was his name Jeeves?
No.
Like if they had a nanny or
No,
a relative that didn't like her.
It was in the middle of the night.
Yeah, they wouldn't have a nanny there.
Maybe
in the
the
middle of
parents went
night.
out.
Evelina, you don't understand how rich people work.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm poor.
Same.
No, but the thing is, if it's Christmas, they might have went to a Christmas party, and it might have been the nanny, if they had a nanny, giving her the pineapple.
Or a relative.
No, but it was
just
But
watching
their
you for the night.
fingerprints were on it.
So like, now it's coming back to the brother.
Ooh, I'd love to hear about him.
Claimed like his mom apparently ran into his room in the morning, like looking for John Bonet and stuff, and then he was like, "What's going on?" Whatever, just thinking that it wasn't something important or whatever. And then he apparently like was sleeping the whole time that everything happened up until the police got there.
Well, the thing is, as long as like the person was like silent, like if it was someone else who did it,
He
as
was
long
9, sleeping through his mom yelling out for his sister.
yeah, but the thing is, people can sleep through that kind of stuff. That's the thing.
Yeah, I know. It's just like a little sus that his
What
parents.
if he sleepwalked, murdered her? Bum, bum, bum.
Like it's just a little sus that his parents wouldn't have woken him up to help look for her.
Everything about this is just sus, but I want to know, like, what? I want to know more about the brother. Is there anything more about him?
He went on Dr. Phil last year, I think.
Ooh, recent.
Yeah. He's like 30 now or some shit.
He's old. Ew.
And he was like smiling throughout his whole interview and shit.
Well, the thing is, like, he was 9 then, right? And he's 30 now. Or, like, around 30.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot of time to get over something like that happened. Unless he was, like, if he was talking about the...
Like, creepy-ass smiling, though. Like, nervous smiling.
Or, like, like, I thought you meant, like, yeah, my sister's dead! Like, something like that.
Just, you know when people are talking about something?
And they get, like, that nervous smile?
That, like, creepy, weird smile. Give me your arm.
Hey!
I wanted to look it up so Danny can see it.
No, you guys can just show me later.
Yeah, and we can just put a link. I'll just put a link to the thing. I'll send it to you. And you can put a link in the description. And he was smiling throughout that and like
that?
No. Just like you could like kind of tell that he wasn't like saying everything that he knew. And so that leads into the theories about the case. The first theory is that someone the family knew and was close with and that had a key to the house, someone that the family knew was let into the house for the night or something.
Yeah.
And then killed John Bonet or whatever.
Yeah, that seems actually pretty plausible.
But where would their prints be, though?
Exactly.
Because
the DNA that was on her panties and under her fingernails didn't match anyone in the family, so it wasn't like a family member. Or like anyone in his database. What?
So, it's Christmas, right? Say the stranger comes over and right after they get there.
Some people think it was like a Santa person that they hired or whatever and had a key to the house. Like someone that they wouldn't know.
Yeah, or maybe they're like, were these people like, were the parents like known as nice charitable people, or were they known as like bad people?
And they were decent.
Because if they were known as like charitable people, like maybe like because it was Christmas, they'd like invite someone who didn't have a place to stay that night to come and stay with them. I don't know how rich people work.
So then another theory, is that the father did it, even though he had been like continuously sexually assaulting John Bonet and stuff for years and shit, and then she started to fight back, and then he hit her over the head with something and strangled her.
That could be the case.
And then the next theory, I was just gonna say strategy, but the next theory is that Patsy Ramsey did it because she was jealous of how popular her daughter was and like hated her for it and whatever.
Like maybe she was just jealous and she wanted to be a fame whore.
Yeah. or something like that, and then so that she killed her. There's a theory that she killed her, and that her husband knew about it and helped her hide the body down in the basement or whatever, which wouldn't explain the sexual assault stuff. And then the last theory that I wrote down is that her brother did it in, like, a fit of rage, being like, oh, you know how, like, older siblings fight with their younger siblings? Like, it was like that, but it escalated that he, like, accidentally hit over
Yeah, because I understand that narrative very well, because I have my own little brother, and me and him, like, we don't fight as much as normal siblings, and Evelina can understand that narrative as well.
Yeah, like, he would accidentally hit her over the head, and then for, like, good measure, her parents would make sure that
like, because it's, like, they don't want their son getting caught, so they'd be like, because he would have to hit her over the head with something, like, really hard.
But the blunt force trauma didn't kill her, so why would they need it?
Because they thought she was dead. So they just did it to make
sure.
Yeah,
like, make sure. Or maybe, like...
Or, like, the person thought she was dead.
Not even like that. Maybe it was just, like... Maybe the brother did it, and then, like... Because they didn't want the daughter waking up and realizing what the brother had done. Maybe they just put her out of her misery.
Yeah,
like, because that could still involve, like, the father being, like, sexually assaulting her, like, for years, and, like, other people doing it. Maybe they just felt bad and wanted to put her out of this, like, misery that she could have been in.
Yeah, I guess.
Because, like, imagine, like, you're 6 and you literally, like, are getting sexually assaulted by, like, your father or strange men.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't want to grow up with that knowledge.
Yeah.
Like, you also wouldn't want to die, but I'm just saying, it's a very, like, deep freaking thing.
Yeah. And...
Any closing thoughts, or are you close to the end?
I'm done.
Oh, any closing thoughts then? Like, for any of us? Like,
anyone have any input? Like, who do
any,
you
like,
think
personal... Yeah, personally, I like the most... This is super fucked up, because this girl was, like, 6, but I like the most the theory that it was, like, the brother did it, because it could also, like, fit in that whole narrative of she's, like, the prize child, and then the brother
and he
gets,
was
like...
jealous because he didn't get attention from
Yeah.
his parents.
Oh, and then, I forgot to add, her mom died in... early 2000, before 2010, of ovarian cancer. Her dad's still alive. Her brother's still alive. And then she had 2 other siblings, but they were half siblings, so
siblings don't matter.
Yeah, and they weren't there. So
yeah,
and one of them was dead, I think.
Oh, that's sad.
Side note: when you started talking about it, it reminded me of episode, because last night I was watching. I think it was it's not Criminal Minds. It was SVU. Yeah,
Special
where it's like
unit.
This man had his own family, but he kidnapped. Let's see, 3 women, and then a boy. He named one ma, one sis, and then the other auntie, and the little boy was Buddy. He was the actor of Sisters. He was Sister's child, like a rape child, because of the man, and they didn't know anything about him but calling him Pa. So they kept him there for so long. The first woman, Ma, she was there for 18 years.
Wow.
And then he slowly went down with her help of like, hey, can you give me directions? And then he knocked them out. Until one day he left Buddy in an open area where police were there already. So talking about that kind of reminded me of...
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, sick, twisted fuckholes out there that, like, rape children, and it's so messed up. Because, like, they're kids. Like, kids are, like... They're impressionable, and they're, like, vulnerable. Like, they can't fight back as well as, like, an adult could fight back. Or even a teenager like us. We could put up a fight if someone was trying to kidnap us. Like, a little 6-year-old, like, she wouldn't be able to do anything. Especially if she grew up like that. She wouldn't know what her...
taking care of candy wrappers right now.
She wouldn't know what her dad was doing was wrong. What?
Drink.
Oh, you want your drink?
Yeah,
your Jarritos?
Jarritos.
Okay, so any final closing thoughts? So far, we're only 29 minutes, so I actually don't think this is going to be very long.
Damn.
Sweet!
So damn.
Except when I get to mine, because mine's actually, like, mine is the longest out of all of ours, because I have a lot of things to get through, and you guys are going to want to talk about what's happening in mine.
Letting you know I'm kind of, like, working on my kind of...
Okay, but, I will hand the mic over to Haley.
Me?
Point it towards
me. Hey.
Okay, so Haley, would you like to... We already know what you're talking about, and me and Katie at least know a lot about what you're talking about, so we will be judging you heavily.
Give us the new information.
Wait, what's your case?
Hers isn't a case. She's doing... Say it.
I'm talking about Wendigos.
I'm doing Wendigos.
You know that.
You will be judged.
I'm gonna call this episode
I'm
I'm
sorry.
doing Wendigos.
Doing
All right.
Wendigos.
So, please stop. You guys are like making me sad.
That's
Are
good.
you shook? Yeah.
Okay, let's get to it.
So
Thank you.
there are
Oh, by the way, I might be sick, so.
Can I go?
Yes.
Please? I was polite for you guys. All right. So there are multiple different names for the Wendigo. There's
You want-
Wittico.
Wittico?
I don't know how to pronounce the second one.
What is the second one?
Wihhtiko.
The H is probably
Wittico.
silent.
Wittico.
Yeah. And then Wendigo, Wendigo, and then Wendigo.
Wendigo, Wendigo, and Wendigo?
And then
Wendigo.
there's
But
What
like
about-
different spelling.
What about Wendigo?
Wendigo, I assume you spell it the same, but it's
Because
just
that's what they
pronounced different.
freaking called it in Supernatural.
Natural.
That's why I hated that
and
episode.
then there's some idiots that spell the entire thing wrong. I'm glad I'm not one of those idiots yet.
So-
Wendigo blow.
There are different meanings for the word Wendigo, and I'm gonna be calling it a Wendigo because that's what it's.
That's what you were
mostly
told.
Most prevalently called.
Yeah.
Mhm. So it's a cannibal monster, an evil spirit, and then I looked up the word, and this is the definition: a cannibalistic giant, a person who has been transformed into a monster by the consumption of human flesh.
Fleshy.
So,
Let's flesh
I'm-
this out.
Sorry.
so some people say that like you can be like possessed by a Wendigo, and then so on and so forth. So one story of possession by Wendigo is of Swift Runner, who is he was a Cree man, and he slaughtered and ate not his entire family, but that's what I have written down, in the winter of 1878.
That's like... Well,
That's
like...
what Kaylee Lee's talking
I know,
about.
Yeah, I
that's
know.
okay.
And once he gave his story to authorities the following spring, he was sentenced to a public execution.
I know, but like, can you like imagine like being so hungry out in the winter that you would eat your family? Like,
Yeah.
I love my family. Like, I know like
You love them enough to not die?
I love them enough to not die. I would be the kind of person that would let my family eat me because I literally care more about everyone around me than I do myself. So,
All right, can I?
Yeah.
And people who like other people who've been victims of the so-called possession
victims of shut up.
have been said to have like fallen under the condition of Wendigo psychosis.
I've heard of
And that means when a person with a reasonable amount of food around them has an indescribable need and longing to eat human flesh.
That's like, that'd be like if I was like surrounded by food. Like I was surrounded by hamburgers, which I fucking love. And I just looked at Evelina and be like, I want to chop you up and eat your flesh.
All right. Leatherface. Like the
Leatherface.
tail.
Oh, Katie just did her weird little.
Yeah, because
She gasped.
some person in there's a poem called Buffalo Bill. There's a poem about Buffalo Bill.
Hey, off topic.
Sorry. But
All right. So another story
Wow.
Of,
topic police gone.
Haley, like, Danny can edit, and it's
of
this is
Wendigo.
only, like, 20 minutes.
Katie, shut up. Let me talk.
Oh my-
Okay, so there's another story, and it's of Jack Fiddler.
Ooh, that's like Fiddler. That's such a sick last
Wait,
name.
He was-
Fiddler. I feel like sorry,
I
but I feel like
farted.
I've heard that before.
Can I finish?
because it's a
I'm so sorry.
Okay, he was an OG Cree chief, and he had like an apt for medicine
What
and
does
stuff like
OG
that.
mean in that
Like
sentence?
a
do you mean,
native,
like,
no, it's a Native
original?
American people.
Oh.
He was like a chief.
Oh well, when you say OG,
OG, like OJI.
Oh, like I thought you meant OG, like original.
yeah,
No.
Like, he was
that's
an
all.
original chief.
And he had an apt for medicine, and he was known for like killing Wendigos.
Dude, off topic. I want to be known for killing Wendigo. That sounds like a sick thing
I want
be
to
known
meet
for.
this man.
Wherever
And-
the Wendigo will go. Oh fuck, I missed
So him and his brother Joseph Fiddler were arrested by Canadian authorities for killing about 14 people who claimed they were who they claimed were Wendigos or were going to turn into a Wendigo in 1907.
Okay, I take that back. I don't want to be known as that. Because, like, he made it sound like, yeah, this guy's a badass who kills Wendigos. And he's like, yeah, he killed 14 people that he thought were Wendigos.
No, him and his brother did it.
Same, honestly.
So Jackie boy.
Was the first guy, right?
Yes. He, before being tried and sentenced or anything, he committed suicide.
Oh, wow.
Leaving just his brother, Joseph, to be sentenced.
Oh, that's so mean.
So, Joseph was sentenced to life in prison, but he was eventually pardoned. But he died in prison 3 days before he was given news about his pardon.
Oh, that's so sad. That poor man.
How did he die?
Well, he got pardoned from fucking life.
Basically.
Okay, so this is, I'm now going to go into more, not like more detail about Wendigo psychosis, but what other people thought about it.
Uh-huh.
So, did you say I know?
I said, uh-huh.
Oh, okay. In the 1980s, a bunch of people got into, like, heated debates about, like, if it was, like, a legitimate, like, condition, or as if it was just, like, bullshit, basically.
Yeah.
And
like a bullshit medical condition?
Yeah. But people pointed out that that there have been eyewitness accounts, of someone having Wendigo psychosis. Those accounts being made by Native Americans who believe more in Wendigos or just normal other people.
So basically take what they said with, like, a grain of salt, because that's, like, been their belief.
It's been their belief for
maybe
God knows how long.
So, do you know what I'm going to dive into right now?
Pop culture references?
Yeah.
Yay. Like, I literally just guessed.
So, I only have 2 of these. The first one's Supernatural.
Yeah, the Supernatural that we already mentioned. Because,
Yeah.
like, we're just going off pop culture references that we actually know. Because the Supernatural episode, it's, like, episode 2 of season 1. Yeah.
Episode 2, season 1.
Better go watch it.
Yeah, episode 2, season 1. I hated
So,
that episode.
yeah,
I like the bugs one too.
Let me talk. Okay, so in the Wendigo, like, creature, was like the main antagonist of the second episode of the first season of Supernatural. And in this show, they describe a Wendigo as a Cree Indian thing, a creature, and the word Wendigo, they say, means evil that devours. And they're said to be hundreds of years old and were once men, mostly being Indians, frontiersmen, miners, or hunters. That were driven to eat people in like in winters and stuff like that.
The Donner Party.
And they've been believed in all cultures to have immense speed, strength, and have been granted immortality because they've consumed human flesh.
That's like that sounds like they're trying to pitch like a really bad sales pitch. Like, hey, if you eat human flesh, you gain strength,
speed, and immortality.
Like,
at the cost of your own sanity.
Oh, well, I'm like, if I get to keep my sanity, then yeah, I guess it sounds like a cool deal. But I'm not actually going to eat human flesh.
So, in Until Dawn,
YOLO.
In the game Until Dawn, it talks more about, like, Wendigos that were in the area that the game was based off of.
That game was, like, I loved the Wendigos in that game. Like, that's what got me interested in Wendigos. Like, those scared me so much.
So, in the Until Dawn, like...
I just hit myself in the face with my snake hook.
Okay, so in the Until Dawn, like, official lore, it said that in 1893, a mine opened somewhere in, like, the mountain with, that had a bunch of tin and radium and stuff like that. And, like, in the years following... the Cree, Native American, like, people, tribe, whatever, warned them, the people who opened the mine, that they had unleashed an evil spirit that had been previously dwelling in the mountain. And in result of that, the creature has now cursed the land and those who live there. And then in 1952, a structural failure in the mine trapped up to 30 miners working in the mine. And then when they were finally, like, taken out of the wreckage and stuff of, like, the mine, only 12 out of the 30 came out alive.
Like, did they cannibalize?
Yeah, but the other missing miners were later found in the archives, and it was clear that the others had resorted to cannibalism to survive.
I wonder, like, who they ate first.
Probably the fattest person.
Probably.
But, like, the thing is, fat doesn't taste that good.
So probably
But
the strongest because muscle.
Muscles.
I mean, the
All right.
fattest person because you could get more meat from it.
True.
All right, so now we're on to, like what they're most, like what culture they're most prevalent in, and that's like in Native American culture, specifically the Algonquin
Algonquin.
people tribes, along with some of their neighboring tribes.
Twibes?
But as years pass and the remaining Native American tribes are being influenced by like us.
Pop culture.
Pop culture and stuff
And
like
how
that.
terrible us all, like, we
And like
all are.
reported
How
witnesses
terrible us
of
white
when
people are.
yeah, like reported witnesses of like Wendigos and things like that have declined, like decreased, like
Well,
over
it's
time.
also, like, now that we're not, like, all freezing to death in the winter because we don't have any
You know-
food, like, we don't need to resort to cannibalism as often as we did back then, considering we all have a steady source of food in the winter.
Yeah.
Except for people that don't. I feel bad for people that don't. I just made such a really bad generalized statement, and now
Yeah.
I'm regretting
All right. So I looked at a bunch of websites and they all had like differing descriptions of what a Wendigo looks like.
Well, yeah, that's also because it's from different cultures.
Yeah,
like,
and
each
but
culture
like
is
like a
different.
common consensus was that like the more flesh that a Wendigo consumes is the more it grows. That's why it needs to eat more to keep up with its
Mhm.
growth.
Metabolism.
Yeah, and it said that they smell like rotting leaves or rotten meat, and
Oh, that's
and it like its vocal range is like from a hypnotic whisper to a deafening roar that could like make you piss your pants.
Well, yeah. If I'd probably start pissing my pants if I heard a hypnotic whisper telling me, yeah, you know, you see Katie over there? Fucking rip her limbs off and start eating it.
And then like in Until Dawn, they're shown and described to have like white eyes and then like a dirty, like grungy complexion.
Yeah, and they're like
And
very
they have, like, a
thin.
hunchback.
They're thin
They're
and
like
lanky.
thin and have a hunchback. And
Honestly, they scared me so much.
Yeah,
I had
yeah.
nightmares.
Okay, so another pop culture thing is, I don't think any of you have seen it, but Teen Wolf has an episode where there's Wendigos in it. Like, they mention they have, I think, one or more characters that become Wendigos. It's in the later seasons. And,
Spoiler.
Well,
sorry.
none of us are gonna watch Teen Wolf.
But what about someone who listens?
And,
Yeah.
sorry,
Oh,
spoilers.
who listens to this so far? Like,
And,
literally.
I don't know.
Joseph.
Also-
So
shout out
far,
to
we have
Joseph.
shout out to Joseph,
Joseph.
and my boyfriend
Mary and Joseph.
and my boyfriend Cooper,
Jesus, Mary,
who
and
loves me and I love him.
Yeah.
Also,
Jesus, Mary, and Joseph.
isn't,
Cooper's
like,
not
most of the
Jesus.
posters of,
He's
or
he
most-
is
Katie!
now the byproduct
Evelyn,
of
talk.
Mary and Joe.
like, isn't most of the pictures, if you look up Google, like, they look kind of deerish, but the
Dearest
face is
and like
more a
disintegrating and
Yeah,
stuff like that. Yeah.
Like, you can actually see the skull, and they
Yeah.
have the antlers, and then there's others where it's, like, from pop stories now.
Pop culture.
All right. So I also looked up how do they kill you.
Oh, I totally love to know how they kill me.
The more that you know.
So like they will like set a target on you and then they engage in like a sort of game that will end up with you either like tortured or like dead, but most likely dead.
Oh my god. So fucked up.
So like they'll like bait with you, they'll like play around, blah, 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 and they'll like shriek or growl or like sometimes they'll like mimic a human voice calling for help and blah blah blah.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of something else, because I know something else does that too.
A
It will
shadow.
it will mess with its prey and then go after it.
You mean fucking cats?
Mhm.
That's what cats
And
do.
so they can unlock doors and get into houses where you think you're safe, but you're
Can you
not.
please stop? Like, I'm gonna have
Yeah, we live
nightmares.
in Maine. They're
So
just gonna
so
come
like
and kill
it's
us.
more it's common that like once they enter a home they kill everyone in there and then they make it into like a safe place for them to hibernate
Are we gonna like?
whenever they hibernate.
I literally just saw Noah walk into the bathroom and I almost pissed myself.
I swear to
Like, I just got so scared. I'm
Um,
such a pussy when it comes to
I
this
swear to
shit.
God.
Oh,
when I
so
walk
do you
home
want you can kill a Wendigo.
Oh, sweet.
If
How
you
can
want
I kill
You
them?
better tell me before I go walking home at 5 o'clock tonight.
It's not easy.
My mom will drive you.
I'll walk. I like
Or
to
you
walk.
could just not go home.
Okay, no,
We stayed over
let's
till,
talk.
like,
Let's
8.
talk.
Alright, so like if you try to wound a Wendigo without like the proper equipment, quote unquote, it'll just regenerate.
Oh, is it
Wolverine
like
shit.
is it like fire, like how it is in Until Dawn? Like the
No.
guy kills it with fire.
No.
I remember that part in Until Dawn. Where you
No.
like blow up the asylum. That was pretty neat.
No,
but
that's
how do you
not-
kill him?
Okay.
Eve, stop.
To properly kill them, you either need silver bullets, a pure silver blade, or stake. And you have to drive it right through the heart.
Oh, I thought you meant like the food steak. I was like, why the hell would I give him my steak?
And
it's
so,
mine.
so once you struck it in the heart, you must shatter the heart into pieces, lock it in a silver box,
So it can't be like
and bury it in a church cemetery. But going back to what you need, a silver-covered steel blade will also do the trick.
Oh, a silver-covered steel blade. So I could take like a steel blade and dip it in like molten silver.
And that would work, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't have any silver boxes. But I do know where. No, I don't know where a church graveyard is.
So it looks like you're screwed.
There's a church somewhere in Westwick. I'm not gonna look it up
I
because
know.
I don't need to go to.
Guys, we're just triangulating our location right now.
Sorry.
You actually sound like Christine.
I am
Near-
Christine.
I think
Shout out to
somewhere
them,
near
and that's
Duncan.
why we drank. Shout out to
Yes.
them, though.
Shout out.
They're more popular than us. Wait, is your story almost done?
Did you
I
see
ju-
that gust of wind, or was that Noah?
That was
That was
Noah.
Noah.
I'm done. That was
Oh,
it.
that's it? Okay, that means I can, like, any, like, final thoughts other than the fact that I'm totally not gonna sleep tonight, because I couldn't sleep for 3 weeks after playing Until Dawn. Like, this is gonna be bad.
If
Oh,
I
do you wanna
get
look at the
killed
pictures I
tonight,
got?
you guys will know why.
Oh, God, I hate those pictures.
They're triggering me.
You know what? I still want one for a pet
Why the fuck would you want one of these?
because it can eat my enemies.
That bitch,
But you can do that too.
bitch will eat you. Okay, okay.
You can just become one.
Okay, I have fear. So
Dead ass.
I'm gonna
Don't take the mic.
I'm gonna take the mic now.
No. Don't. No!
I'm gonna take the mic now.
No.
And I'm gonna get real close. Fucking kill
We
myself.
don't want-
And I'm gonna fucking kill myself.
Wait, what are we doing for time right now?
We're at 46 minutes right now.
Dang.
Okay. I am gonna finally talk about what I've been dying to talk to you all about. Oh my god.
And I know
I'm
your
so
story.
okay. So you don't know everything about it. though.
Not everything, but I know it.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Sorry, I'm doing research for the next.
So-
the third episode.
So my story, as some of you, hopefully most of you will know, is the Ken and Barbie Killers,
Ooh.
which is a couple in Canada who, well, I'll get into them. I just like transition so fucking smoothly.
Mm.
Shut up. Okay, shut up. I'm trying. Okay. So this is so the first person, the man of the relationship is Paul Bernardo.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say the lady.
No. His birthday, in case any of you wanted to know, is August 27th, 1964.
Ooh, he
And
old.
let's dive into his childhood. So, Paul's father, Kenneth, was a well-known child molester who sexually abused his daughters and a random 12-year-old girl. I think she was 12 years old. And a random 12-year-old girl, and was charged on it in, I almost said 16, in 1969, I think it was.
Why do you get notes?
Well, I didn't take notes on that, but whatever. And then, but the thing is, Paul seemed completely unscathed by knowing that his dad was a convicted child molester. He literally just didn't care that his sisters were getting molested. He just didn't care.
Right.
But he started caring when his mother told him that she had him because she had an affair. Like, his mother slept with a man other than his father and gave birth to him.
You know what an affair is.
I'm just explaining. Is which when Paul snapped and, like, he began belittling and insulting and physically abusing his mother. And, in October of 1987, he met the second half of his relationship after a few failed relationships. Her name was Carla Homolka, and they hit it off literally instantaneously. Because Carla, unlike his other girlfriends, she encouraged how sadistic and torturous he was. Let's get on to Carla, which there's absolutely, there is not a ton about her past that I could find. So all I know is that she was born on May 4th of 1970. Her younger sister was Tammy Homolka, and she was 17 years old when she met Paul, while Paul was 23.
Oh, great.
And they had sex the night they met. Instantaneously. Got right into it.
Great.
I also read somewhere, but I don't know if it's true, that they met at like a hotel, like at like a hotel restaurant, and then they just kind of went like, "Hey, we like each other. Let's go upstairs." Okay, let's get into Paul's sadisticness. So Paul was...
I don't like how that you sound so excited about this.
I love this murder. This is like my favorite case. Paul began to be known as something called the Scarborough Rapist in Scarborough, Canada.
Oh,
Not
I
Scarborough,
swear to
Maine.
God.
Not Scarborough, Maine.
Haley.
All of you have asked me, whenever I said Scarborough Rapist, you're all like, Scarborough, Maine? No,
I didn't-
Scarborough, Canada.
I didn't know that. Why are people always copying us, man?
But
Actually,
he
Canada was first.
he committed numerous assaults in the Scarborough area of Toronto? It's not Toronto. That's not a... I don't know Canada. I'm sorry. He stalked...
Ontario?
I don't know. He stalked women from, like, bus stops at night and would normally attack them while they were outside their houses. And, the list of confirmed ones is very long. I'm not going to say all of them, but I'm going to list some of them. I'm going to list his first known one, which was May 4th, 1987. He raped a 21-year-old Scarborough woman in front of her parents' house after he followed her home, and the attack lasted half an hour, which is pretty messed up. May 14th, it was a 19-year-old woman of, like, the same year. 19-year-old woman in the backyard of her parents' house, which lasted over an hour, which is pretty messed up. July 17th of 1987, it was an attempted rape. He beat the young woman, but he abandoned the attack as she fought back. September 29th, 1987, he attempted the rape of a 15-year-old girl. Bernardo broke into a house in Scarborough, entered the victim's bedroom. He jumped on her back, put his hand over her mouth, and threatened her with a knife, bruised the side of her face, and bit her ear. Bernardo fled when the victim's mother entered the room and screamed. She was 19 years old at the time of the crime. Anthony Hainmeyer was convicted of the sexual assault, even though Bernardo did it, and he was exonerated from his crime when Bernardo confessed to doing it in 2006. So this guy's, like, still alive. December 16th of 1987, the rape of a 15-year-old girl, and the assault lasted about an hour. The next day, the Metropolitan Toronto Police, yeah, it was in Toronto, issued a warning to women in Scarborough traveling alone at night, especially those riding buses. So anyone riding a bus, like, that was a woman, they were like, watch yourself. God, these are so many. May 25th of 1988, Bernardo was nearly caught a uniformed Metro Toronto investigator stalking out... He was nearly caught on that night, but he didn't get caught. May 30th, the rape of an 18-year-old woman about 40 kilometers southwest of Scarborough, which is about 25 miles. The attack lasted 30 minutes. And then there's quite a few more. I'm going to count them all in total. There's like 21 in total. But I'm not going to get into them all because it'll take way too long. So here's the kicker. He was taken in for questioning, and the police got a DNA sample and all that. But you want to know what they did?
What?
They released him because he seemed, quote, like a well-rounded gentleman who would never do this to a woman.
Are you serious?
So they took his DNA and they never tested it. They took it, literally released him and never tested it because he seemed like a nice man. That's the most...
This is why I want to cry.
But the thing is, like, they literally could have caught him before he could do so much more. Because once I get to what he's done, once I get to his first victim...
Oh yeah, I forgot that he killed people.
Yeah. So let's get on to, I'm gonna say it already. Victim number 1, Tammy Homoka, age 15. Let's get a little bit on her first. So, she was Carla's younger sister. Paul became obsessed with her. He would watch her sleep and masturbate while watching her through a window. Carla broke the shutters on Tammy's window so Paul could get a better view. he was had like this really high profile job that he got fired from. So then he became like an alcohol smuggler that would like smuggle like alcohol that wasn't allowed in Canada like across the border. So he would like he would give like Tammy and her friends like a whole bunch of alcohol. Like, yeah, I'm like the cool like I think that yeah, they were fiancés at this time.
School brother-in-law.
So oh boy. Supposedly in July, like the year before she was killed, which I actually don't have the year, which I'm sad about. He and Tammy got drunk and quote began making out, which is what he like told Carla. So Bernardo's original testimony on like how they like first like because they drugged her twice, but they like I was about to say they killed her twice. They drugged her twice, but they only killed her once.
No.
So according to Bernardo's first testimony in July 24th of the 1990 trial, he said Homoka, who is Carla, laced spaghetti sauce with crushed Valium she had stolen from her like animal clinic job and served it to her sister, and then that night Bernardo began to rape Tammy while Carla watched. And then like because Tammy was out cold, she didn't know any of this was going on, so like when she woke up she didn't know anything that had happened. Well, they didn't get through with like the rape, like they only began to, but they didn't because Carla's parents came home. And so after that, the summer after, like, during the summer, he supplied Tammy and her friends with gifts and foods and soft drinks. This is quoted directly from the Wikipedia, and this is, like, in quotations. Soft drinks with a film and a few white flecks at the top. Any of you want to try to explain that? Because I don't even know what that means.
White flecks?
It could, like...
Or, like...
Like, yeah, like... A
Danger.
film and a few white flecks at the top. Like, I don't know what that means.
Wait, a film?
A film and a few white flecks.
Like on a drink?
Yeah, like on a
Pink.
soft drink. Drugs? Semen?
It could be semen. It could be he put like nasty ass dandruff on it. Like just about anything.
Well, that's basically some background on Tammy and why Paul became obsessed with her. So let's get on to how they killed her. So Carla stole some halothane, which is a really, like, strong animal anesthetic, from the animal hospital that she worked at. She put sleeping pills, like, because this is, like, before, like, Christmas. I think this is, like, 2 days before Christmas.
Oh, God.
And they put sleeping pills, no, I actually think this is Christmas Eve. They put sleeping pills in Tammy's eggnog cocktail. Like, they make her a cocktail, and then, like, Carla put sleeping pills in it. And so Tammy, like, goes out. And then Carla, like, they bring her down to the basement, and Carla puts the halothane rag over her face. And, Carla and Paul undressed Tammy, and, this is why Carla was doing all this. Tammy was a Christmas gift for Paul. Because Paul was outraged that Carla wasn't a virgin when she met him. So Tammy's virginity was Paul's gift for Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
But... during it, because they recorded everything. Like they were, yeah, video recording. Like on like tapes and stuff, like they video recorded everything that was happening, and both Carla and Paul participated, which is important.
How did she participate? Fingers.
Foreign objects.
Oh my God.
But
dude, that's her sister.
During all of it, because Tammy's still out. During all of it, though, she began to throw up because the halothane rag was, like, overwhelming her, and she began to throw up, and she choked on her vomit and died. They tried to revive her, but once they realized they couldn't, they cleaned her up, brought her upstairs to her bedroom, disposed of any of the evidence, and then called 911. So, despite that Carla and Paul were acting very suspicious, and the chemical burn that was on Tammy's face from the halothane, her death was labeled a suicide. Or, like, a suicide accident. Like, oh, maybe she tried to overdose herself. Or it was labeled, like, officially an accident, because, like, people were speculating that it was a suicide. Like, oh, maybe she tried to, like, kill herself with something. But, Tammy was known to be a drinker. Like, she would drink behind her parents' backs, so they thought, oh, maybe she, like, just drank too much that night and choked on her throw up. But that wasn't, like, that was the official cause of death. But that didn't...
wouldn't leave a burn.
Yeah, that wouldn't leave the chemical burn. But that's the thing. They ignored it. So, they videotaped themselves. Both Paul and Carla videotaped themselves wearing Tammy's clothing and pretending to be her while they had sex. Then they moved out of the Homolka house, which was Carla's house. They were living there with her parents, and then they moved out. And the thing is, all that was happening while her parents were sleeping upstairs in their bedroom.
Oh, that's glorious.
Yeah, so they moved to a rented Port Dollhouse bungalow to, like, allow Carla's family to grieve, so they'd have some space.
Mm-hmm.
So this is their next murder. On June 15th of 1991, Paul found Lisa Mahaffey, which I apologize if I can't pronounce her name right, in Burlington, Canada. Lisa Mahaffey was 14 years old, similar to how, but Tammy was 15 years old. She's their youngest victim, Lisa Mahaffey. She had missed curfew while she was at her friend's wake, which means her friend died, and she was at her friend's wake and missed her parents' curfew, and she was locked out of her house for the night. Paul was stalking to try to find a new victim, and he approached her, and he just plainly said that he wanted to break into a neighbor's house. And Lisa, or I'm going to just refer to her as Mahaffey, seeming completely unfazed about everything, she asked if he had any cigarettes.
And she's 14.
Yeah. So Paul led her to his car, then blindfolded her and kidnapped her. When he got home, he, quote, said to Carla, "We have a new victim."
Oh, of course.
They filmed themselves torturing and sexually abusing Mahaffey while listening to David Bowie and Bob Marley. They were blaring that on speakers while they were torturing her
no one would hear it.
and molesting. But they were blaring David Bowie and Bob Marley. Like, their music isn't, like, doesn't it represent peace?
Bob
Yeah.
Marley, he's a pretty chill man.
Yeah.
Reggae.
And, like,
Reggae.
it's so, like, so messed up. And at one point, Paul said, this is, like, complete in quote, "You're doing a great job, Lisey. A damned good job," adding, "The next 2 hours are going to determine what I do to you, and right now you're scoring perfect."
Woo!
These are exact, like, quotes. This is what he said to her. And this chick's 14, chained up in a house that she doesn't know, like, while they're blaring David Bowie and Bob Marley, and they're torturing her.
And isn't she blindfolded?
Yeah, she's blindfolded. So, like they were, initially they were planning on, like, releasing her. That's why they kept her blindfolded throughout everything, so that way, like, she couldn't see who they were. So, after that, Happy cried out in pain and begged Bernardo to stop during the tape as they were tying her hands and sodomizing her.
Define sodomizing, sorry.
Google it. Google what sodomizing
Wait, isn't
means.
it,
spell
SODOMIZNG.
Hold up. SODO.
MIZNG. ZING. Go ahead and read the definition once you get it.
The definition of sodomize is to perform unnatural or abnormal sexual intercourse on a person. When you penetrate a person
anally.
in the anus, this is an example of when you sodomize that person.
She was begging them to stop as they were doing that. And keep in mind, they're listening to David Bowie and Bob Marley.
Oh, that's now my school history.
And so, during the torture, her blindfold, as, they were about to let her go, she said her blindfold had slipped, and she was going to report them, because she's, in hysterics now, so she's going to say, these things that she's thinking. Because after all this, you'd start to go a little insane.
Mm-hmm.
So they killed her after she claimed that she had seen their faces. Paul claimed that Carla killed her with a halophane overdose, but Carla claimed that Paul strangled her to death. They dismembered her body and encased it in cement, and then they dumped it at Lake Gibson, which was 18 kilometers away from their house, 11 miles. And the block that had her torso weighed about 200 pounds, and it was beyond their ability to toss into the lake. So they left it on the shore, where a father and son on a fishing expedition discovered it on June 29th of 1991.
Wow.
And they got everything out of the cement. They dredged out the lake for the body, and they ID'd her as Leslie Mahaffey. Okay. Now on to their third confirmed victim.
How many of these do you have?
There's only 3 confirmed victims, and then there's a few speculated ones. Yeah, mine's long, I told you.
But it's
How far are we in for time?
Let me check. I can check that right now. We're at an hour and 4 minutes, so we're not that bad. So Christine French, who was age 15, she was found on April 16th of 1992 when Paul and Carla were driving through St. Catherine's looking for victims. St. Catherine's was like a Christian church school. They saw Christian French walking home. Carla took out a map and walked up to her asking for directions. Paul then attacked Christine from behind and by knife point forced her into the car. Carla sat in the back seat with her, like, holding her hair, so if she tried to, like, do anything, she would literally, like, yank her hair so hard that it would pull out giant chunks. To make sure that she doesn't misbehave. I did air quotes there. Okay. So this is how, because her parents instantly knew she was kidnapped when she didn't arrive home, because she took the same route every day, taking about 15 minutes to get home, and then she'd take care of her dog. After those, 15 minutes, they waited another, 30, and when she hadn't arrived home, they became convinced that she'd met with foul play and started, a search group to go and find her, and then they reported it to the police. They assembled a team that searched French's route, and they found several witnesses saying they had seen the abduction, and then they found her shoe in the parking lot. So they knew that she was kidnapped, but they didn't see who. So over Easter, they filmed themselves torturing, sexually abusing, and forcing Kristen to drink large amounts of alcohol so that she would submit to Paul.
Right.
They literally forced alcohol. She didn't have a blindfold. She was just such in, a drunken stupor that, she didn't know what was happening. They never blindfolded her so the police assumed that they were planning on killing her to begin with. They murdered her before going to Carla's family Easter dinner.
That's glorious.
Homolka testified that at her trial, Bernardo strangled
Hey,
French.
at least they were timely about it. I mean, if you have to be somewhere, make the murder quick.
Oh my god. Homolka said at her, during her testimony that Bernardo strangled French for several minutes while she watched, and Bernardo said that Homolka beat French with a rubber mallet because she tried to escape. I made a little hammer motion there. My bones cracked. And French, and then strangled her with a noose around her neck, which was secured to, a little hope chest thing. And then, Carla went to go fix her hair to get ready for her dinner that she has at her parents' house. Literally just walking off, oh yeah, I gotta fix my hair. So this is, part 3 about when her body was found. French's nude body was found on April 30th of 1992 in a ditch in Burlington, about 45 minutes away from St. Catherine's, a short distance from the cemetery where Mahaffey had been buried. She had been washed, her hair was cut off, and although, people believe that her hair was cut off as a trophy, Carla just said it was to impede identification. People believe, Carla cut off her hair, so, to keep it as a trophy, but, she says that, no, we just cut it off so nobody would identify her.
Then why wouldn't you mess up her face?
Exactly.
So you cut her hair, you still have her face, her fingertip.
Yeah. Here's one of the suspected victims. She's only known as January Girl. So, shortly after they left Tammy's funeral, which they took a selfie of them both smiling in front of her coffin. I'll show it to you guys because
Selfies were a thing in the 90s?
Well, with a Polaroid camera. But after they left town, and to go visit their Carla's grandparents in Miscachua, leaving the house, according to an author of a book, he said during the weekend, the author of a book about someone who's done a lot of research about this, during the weekend of January 12th, 1991, Bernardo abducted a girl, took her to the house, raped her while Homolka watched, then dropped her off on a deserted road near Lake Gibson. Bernardo and Homolka call her January Girl. So, this is a girl who's never came forward to say anything. So, they have the tapes, but she's just referred to as January Girl.
Is she dead?
No, she's alive.
And she hasn't come forward?
No. That's why this is like speculated victim.
Some people-
Here's another speculated one. Elizabeth Bain. In like Dirk Finkel's book. Dirk Finkel. He tried to tie Bernardo to the murder of Elizabeth Bain, who disappeared on June 19th of 1990. 3 weeks after the last attack of the Scarborough rapist. Bain told her mother that she was going to check the tennis schedule at the University of Toronto Scarborough, and then 3 days later her car was found with a large blood stain on the backseat. So this guy, Dirk Finkel, tried to link Bernardo to her death, to try to be like, oh yeah, maybe this was one of their victims. And there's a little bit of evidence, but not a lot. It's all just kind of like time. Here's another one. This is these two girls who never got caught, but they're just referred to as two sisters. It's these two sisters who never got caught by them. So, Bernardo, on March 19th of 1992, he stalked and videotaped these two sisters as he followed them from their school to their parents' house. The sisters tried to get his license plate number, but they wrote it down wrong. And then one sister reported it on March 30th of 92, so literally the next day. And then she tried to give them as much information as she could. With because he was out, they had French at the time. They had Christian French. So Bernardo went out to buy a dinner and rent a movie for Carla, Christine, and him to all watch that movie. The person they have kidnapped and they're torturing. They're all just going to watch a movie together. They got a better description, he saw the two sisters, and they got a better description of him, and got the, license plate number. But
They did it right this time?
Yeah, but the information that they gave them was mishandled by the police, falling into the black hole of cases that don't matter.
Oh.
BS. I pulled my BS card.
Really?
So they mishandled all the evidence of them. And can you not, rub your feet near the microphone?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
So they mishandled all the evidence of those. So, they could have been caught so much earlier. But those two, they didn't take the two sisters seriously. So finally, in 2006, Bernardo confessed to a 1987 assault of a 15-year-old girl. And, this is the one where the Anthony Haymaner, the guy that he was convicted, the girl that he was convicted for raping, Paul went out and said, oh yeah, I did this. So this is how they got caught. So the Green Robin Task Force was created to investigate the murders of Mahaffey and French. Bernardo and Homolka had, they had applied to get their names changed to Teal, because it's T-E-A-L-E, Teal. I'm just going to say Teal. But Paul beat Carla often, he was abusive towards her, and he beat her, he didn't actually physically, beat her noticeably often, but he, abused her mentally and stuff like that. So one day she went to work with these two giant shiners, giant black eyes, and she just claimed she had just been in a car accident or something. But the workplace called Carla's parents, and they removed her from the house. They literally took her from the house. But Carla ran back in the house frantically searching for something, which I don't know what, but she was frantically searching for something. Her parents took her to the St. Catherine's General Hospital, where she gave a statement that she was a battered spouse and filed charges against Bernardo. He was arrested and later released on his own recognition. A friend who found Bernardo's suicide note intervened, and Homolka moved in with relatives. So, basically, Bernardo said, oh, I'm going to kill myself, and, wrote a suicide note, and that's how he got out of the battered spouse charges, and then Homolka moved in with her relatives in Brampton. So, Paul was put under surveillance after, the accusations that Carla made that she was, a battered spouse. And then,
Wait, she said that about him?
Yeah, but then he was put under even more surveillance, 24-hour surveillance, after Carla told her aunt and uncle that Paul was the Scarborough rapist. Because they were dating at the time that he was doing that. So she knew that he was doing it. She claimed he abused her and forced her to participate in everything that happened, with Lisa Mahaffey and Kristen French. So on May 5th, the government offered Carla a plea bargain of 12 years, which she had 1 week to accept. saying that if she gave her side of the story and said everything, because, like, she appeared as innocent. Like, if she said her side of the story and everything, she's a battered spouse, like, oh, she played, like, the I'm abused thing, she'd only get 12 years in prison versus life in prison, or the death penalty. So she agreed, obviously. So her bargain was finalized on May 14th, and she began giving statements about how she told police that Paul boasted that he had raped as many as 30 women, and she called him the happy rapist because he was so happy to be doing all of it. Just pretty messed up. But during the trials, the videotapes were shown. And Carla was shown to participate as much, if not more, than Paul did in everything that happened. So people called the plea bargain that was made a deal with the devil. So Paul was convicted for the murders of French and Mahaffey. Bernardo testified that the deaths were accidental, claiming that his wife was actually the killer. On September 1st of 1995, Bernardo was convicted of a number of offenses, including 2 first-degree murders, 2 aggravated sexual assaults, and sentenced to life in prison without parole for at least 25 years. He was designated a dangerous offender, making him unlikely to ever be released, which makes sense. So, Carla served only 12 years for manslaughter, and many people say her defense attorney, because her defense attorney, like, held the tapes for 17 months so she could get out easy. Like, withheld the information. So, on February 21st of 2006, Bernardo admitted that he's admitted to sexually assaulting at least 10 other women in attacks previously not attributed to him. Most of them were in 1986, a year before the police claimed him as the Scarborough rapist. And although he was kept in a segregation unit at the Kingston Penitentiary for his own safety, he was attacked and harassed. He was punched in the face by another inmate while returning from a shower in 1996, and in June of 1995, 5 convicts tried to storm his segregation range, and a riot squad had to disperse them. So even everyone in jail wanted to kill him because of what he did. Carla was kept in Kingston Prison for Women. She saw herself as a man and wanted a sex change. She felt unsafe in that prison because there were people making online bet games about when she was going to die. Like, there were people betting real money on the day she was going to die, and they couldn't interfere and kill her, but they were making these, like, bets. So her lawyers literally had to go and shut them down. And that was pretty, like, yeah. So, now Carla is released, and she has met a man named Thierry Bordalis. She's had 3 kids with him, and now is known as Emily Bordalis.
Oh, so it's changed.
She changed her name.
Wait, what did she change it from?
She changed it from Carla Homolka to Emily Bordalis. And, during her time in prison, this is, like, speculated that she had a relationship, like, a lesbian relationship with another woman. They weren't allowed, like, conjugal visits, so they weren't allowed to actually, like, see each other and touch each other. I like how I said touch each other instead of have sex, but touch each other. They were allowed to, like, write letters to each other and speak to each other, like, on, like, dining halls and stuff like that. So, this is interesting. Bernardo is eligible to apply for a full parole on February 17th of 2018. So he can be put on parole next year.
That's in 3 months.
Maybe I should, like,
He
tweet
can be
that out so if he hears it somehow.
He's not gonna hear it.
But the thing is, it's very he's put forward a very interesting case on why he should be released.
Why?
Like, because the videotapes show that Carla did a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
He participated, but Carla did a lot as well. And, like, his whole thing is that Carla did all the murders. So maybe Carla did do all the murders, and that's kind of his defense for parole. And they've said they'll hear him, and they say on February 17th is when they'll hear him for parole. Like, that's when we'll hear him for parole.
Wait, when?
On February 17th of 2018. So Carla is now 47 and Paul is now 53, and I have another little interesting tidbit I forgot to throw in there. So on the day of their wedding, Paul planned the whole wedding, and this is only something I heard from another thing, so I don't know if it's entirely true, but he planned the whole wedding, And he apparently had Carla say for her vows, "I promise to obey you and never disrespect you or go against you." And those were her vows. Obey. That's such like a... Ugh, I hate that word. Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you, Wikipedia, and the Criminal Minds wiki. It's not the show.
Oh.
But there was an episode of Criminal Minds where it was based off of them, loosely based off them, and it was Mr. and Mrs. Anderson.
Yep.
Yeah, it was loosely based off them. But the thing is, they were both only convicted for the murders of Christine French and Lisa Mahaffey, because Tammy Homolka, even though she was killed by them, her death was labeled as an accident, and they couldn't, they were linked to it very heavily, but they couldn't be charged for it. And that was pretty messed up. So, I have a lot of pictures that I will put on the website, because the thing about them is they look so, normal. Here's the picture. If any, that's the picture of them in front of Tammy's coffin.
Oh, wow.
That was her when they brought her into the hospital. That was them on a vacation. There are 3 victims. That was Tammy, that was Mahaffey, and that was French. And that was them on their wedding day, and then that was them, as they were being convicted. So, any thoughts, comments, concerns? Mine definitely was the longest, considering when I was almost halfway through with it, it was already an hour and 4 minutes, and I started when we were roughly at 50 minutes. Yeah. And I finished at an hour and 21 minutes.
Oh god.
I mean, that isn't that bad.
I know, but it was a long story, because there's a lot about it, and there was a lot of details.
Dude,
so,
I'm not even done with the Tower of London, and I already have 2.5.
Okay, comments and concerns.
Okay, I've got a question. This is probably going to be a stupid one, but why were they called the Ken and Barbie Killers?
They were called the Ken and Barbie Killers because they
look like Ken and Barbie, or
the reason Paul was let go originally for being described a rapist is because he looked like a fine young gentleman. He looked like someone who...
So they looked like...
They looked like people who wouldn't do any harm. They look a little creepy on their wedding pictures, but, if you kind of look at those faces, they look like normal people.
Yeah.
They look like they would never do anything like that, but they did. And it's so messed up. And they, on the outside, everyone else, they look like the picture-perfect couple. Which, I understand that. But they looked like the picture-perfect couple. Everyone wanted to have what they had. Because even though she was 17 when they first met, and he was 23, even though they had age difference, they still, seemed like they really had something good. But that was only because they were both sadistic and insane.
More, you know.
So,
that's not something I wanted to know.
I will put all these pictures on the website.
And links.
I'll put probably links to these pictures. I might even just, because I can put a link to my whole slideshow. I can just put a link to my whole, because I took my notes on Google Slides, so I could just put a link to my whole slideshow if anyone wanted to actually, do this. But I've been waiting to tell you guys about that forever, and I was so surprised that none of you had heard of it. Because I was, because it happened all in, Canada, and Canadian murders are, my favorite.
Yeah, because
I know what the Ken and Barbie Killers were, but I didn't know exactly
their
in
details.
Detail.
Just I had heard about I had heard something about a beauty queen being murdered, but I didn't know it was John Benet Ramsey. But
I was shocked that you hadn't heard about John Benet.
I was shocked you didn't hear about the Ken and Barbie Killers. But I guess we should all kind of wrap this up because this is an hour and 23 minutes, and that's pretty long if you ask me.
Yeah.
Ooh.
What?
I just, and that's why we drink tweeted about how they're finishing up their next episode.
Ooh.
And I'm excited. Oh my god, as we're finishing up our first episode.
Oh!
That's almost desperate.
That's
seriously,
scary.
shout out to them.
Shout out and that's why we drink.
Even though, we're never gonna be noticed or anything. We're probably just gonna be doing this for just our group of friends, but, this was really fun.
Yeah.
Planning this all out and actually doing this was really fun. I love just talking about murder. Oh my god, I'm getting...
So...
Okay.
Demons?
Demons. How would we like to wrap this up?
Bye.
No. Okay, this is how we're gonna wrap it up. If I can, I'm gonna figure out how to post, a poll thing on our website.
Yeah, you
can.
And
You can post one on Twitter.
I know, but not on...
I don't...
We don't...
Twitter.
I'll make a Twitter right now.
Okay.
No, you should let Danny do it.
Yeah, let me make something for once.
You can make
I
it
mean,
once
you know
we
what
wrap
you're
this up.
doing? You're making the editing happen.
I know. I'm basically the reason these episodes are happening.
So can I make the Twitter?
Sure. So basically we're gonna, I'll put a poll on, like, the Twitter or something, and I'll make it so, like, never ends. Because nobody's gonna find this very early on. And I want you to, and you can
What is it going to be the poll about?
like, whose favorites, whose story was the favorite.
Oh, yeah.
So I want, like, and you can put it in, like, the comments over SoundCloud or YouTube. I want to know what you liked the most. Like, whose story you liked the most. Because everyone kind of, like, we all had a different story.
What phone number do we want to use?
None.
We'll talk about it when we're done.
Yeah, we'll talk about
Wait,
it
you
when
can
we're
just do
not.
Skip.
Yeah, just do
We'll
skip.
talk about it when we're not doing the podcast. God.
Recommendations, maybe? If someone has, like, if someone does listen to this, what
Yeah,
kind of
if someone
recommendations
actually
do they
listens
have?
to this and wants to recommend a story for us to talk about,
Let's go!
It'll be like a special.
if someone, like, we can put,
episode or
like,
some
we'll do
shit.
the email. The email is,
demonspodcast
sodemonspodcast
At
at
gmail.
gmail. I'll put a link to it. So,
Yeah, it's on the about on the channel.
so
Yeah.
if any of you want to tell us your favorite murder story, your favorite
Yeah,
ghost.
or leave your own personal stuff.
Yeah, leave your own personal,
Personal-
like,
like
we're
ghost
gonna
stories.
have an entire episode where we talk about personal ghost stories, because
Mm-hmm.
specifically me, Haley, and Katie have one that we shared with a few other friends
Yeah.
that's super haunting. But,
Do you know what my Twitter is?
so we're gonna wrap this up, guys. Guys, I'm saying
Oh, and
this to
shout out to Mr. Field.
you said shout out like 4 times right there.
And two, that's why we drink.
We love you.
And my
I'm
favorite
Christine.
murderer.
We love
Yeah,
you
my
all.
favorite murder.
I love my favorite murderer.
It's a podcast.
They talked about, they gave me the idea for someone I wanted to talk about in the future.
Look at how bad these pages sound. That's
Which, if any of you want to know, the alphabet murders.
Oh.
You know those, Eve? Because if you want to do it, if you want to double team that, if you want to double team that. God, we're... So, thanks for listening to our really lame podcast that's never going to be discovered.
Bye, spookies.
Yeah, Evelina labeled you guys spookies
Which I don't like.
I'm fine with spookies.
Alright.
I'm fine with spookies too, but you should have asked first.
Alright, BB.
Okay,
Love
guys. Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you specifically to the people that we know are gonna listen to this first, which they better freaking listen to it. Cooper and Joe. Cooper being my boyfriend, who's gonna be on one episode of this, because we're not just gonna stop at one episode because we don't know when to quit.
We will never
Too
see.
fit to quit.
Okay.
Too lit to quit.
Okay. Thank you all for listening to this. How are we gonna say bye?
Bye.
I don't know.
What the fuck? Why do I hang out with you all?
I don't know.
Okay.
The answer it will be in the next episode.
You need to stop screaming,
Sorry.
okay? Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.